Hello, Jack again. I'm back with more Buzzword, this time of a academic variety. So NAQT and Quiz Bowl is primarily a academic um, endeavor, as you can see in their in the name of their company, the National Academic Quiz Tournaments. Um, so on the academic side, it's going to be like history, geography, science, literature, art. They'll throw in a couple of pop culture things, but I'd say every 20 questions or so, there should be a pop culture one. So it's going to be mostly academic. Um, and this version is for middle schoolers. So here I am, a man in his late 30s, who will be playing questions that are designed to be answered by people who are people who haven't existed as long as I have been playing trivia. um, yeah. So with Buzzword, it replicates the Quiz Bowl toss-up experience. Each question is going to have a series of clues. The clues are going to be more obscure, going down to more obvious, and the sooner you buzz in and get it right, the more points you get, and you just get points in general for uh, getting the questions right. All right, we got 48 questions for middle schoolers here. I think it's for middle schoolers. Also, this packet has been out. These are questions that are adopted from actual NAQT packets that they play in person. Or at this point, these are from 2020, so at this point they may have been doing them through Zoom. But anyway, these were made to be played in person. Again, I believe for middle schoolers. So let's see how it goes. Here we go.
Micro examples of these objects are thought to evaporate as they emit Hawking radiation. For non-rotating examples of these,
Yeah, they said Hawking radiation, and Hawking radiation is put out by black holes. All right, yeah.
this amendment was ruled to protect the rights of individuals in the 2008 case District of Columbia versus Heller. Debates regarding this amendment involve the meaning of the phrase well-regulated.
Well-regulated militia that is with the right to bear arms in the Second Amendment. Yeah, pretty on par for middle schoolers, I'd say so far.
A 2013 expansion titled for this character also adds Nabbit as a playable character. A goo version of this character appears in a series in which this
Yeah, because they're talking about Gooigi from Luigi's Mansion 3. Still get my video game questions, even when it's academic stuff. Uh, yeah, like I said, there's gonna be some pop culture. Normally for the NAQT tournaments, now about it's been a decade plus since I've regularly played NAQT tournaments, but they tend to have one pop culture toss up every round, and every round is 20 questions.
a character in this novel is taken to Louisiana after Augustine St. Clair is stabbed to death. Simon Legree caught
Yeah. Had I taken to Louisiana kind of indicates that there's uh, some enslavement involved in that, or at least that's how it read to me. And a middle school novel, or a novel at middle school level about slavery, is going to be Uncle Tom's Cabin, and then they said Simon Legree, so you just buzz in there.
A man who held this position in the 1840s, George M. Dallas, cast 19 tie-breaking votes.
So tie-breaking means there's only one major federal position that breaks ties. So yeah, early buzzes, easy buzzes. Like I said, for middle schoolers.
This is the first title character of a 2013 Malcolm Gladwell book about misfits who beat the odds. In the book of Samuel, this character defeats a Philistine champion in single combat.
So it's David then. Oh yeah, underdogs to beat. Yeah, of course it's David. I was thinking too hard, trying to think too hard about like what the Malcolm Gladwell novel or book would be, but of course it's David and Goliath.
In 2020, this man's chief advisor, Dominic Cummings, drove 260 miles to see his family.
This is Boris Johnson. Yeah, because Dominic Cummings was one of many scandals in the Johnson regime, and most of which were about breaking COVID protocols, because the Tories didn't really, much like the conservatives stateside, the Tories just didn't think the rules applied to them.
After the death of this monarch's son Feodor, his country was thrown into the time of troubles. This man commemorated the successful 1552 siege of Kazan by patronizing St. Basil's Cathedral. For 10.
So I think this is Peter the Great. Nope. Yeah, I was either gonna be Ivan or Peter. He started the time of troubles. Yeah, I'm honestly not great on my Russian czars.
Pencil and paper ready.
Oh no.
Nigel needs to find the
fraction they put math in.
that represents the mean average of 1/4 and 1. By converting 1 to a fraction with denominator 4, adding together the two fractions, and dividing by 2, he computes, for 10 points, what average of 1/4?
I wasn't really paying attention. Oh yeah, that app. Yeah. All right. I was not prepared for pencil and paper. Like I was in college. I also did not really do great on the pencil and paper things. Mainly out of derision for the process, because when you get into higher levels, they don't really do these computational math questions, which I got wrong anyway. So
in this novel, the hired man Lurvy is told to use straw instead of manure for the bedding of a character who is deemed terrific. Fern cares for.
That's some deep starting off with Charlotte's Web characters there. The secondary hired hand characters. That's some good inflection on terrific.
This city is home to Wayne State University, whose business school is named for Mike Ilitch, an entrepreneur who once owned this city's NHL team, the Red Wings.
Yeah, some of these are quite simple because they say things like Red Wings in the middle of the question. I was just in Detroit from sister's wedding. Mike Ilitch, yeah, I should have remembered something off of that. Also, probably off of Wayne State.
Until 1959, people with this title resided in the Potala Palace in Lhasa.
Yeah, I spelled Dalai Lama. They said Potala Palace. That's where the Dalai Lama lives. Not much more to say about that.
This process occurs in a solution that is hypotonic, but not isotonic, to its surroundings. An applied pressure is used to drive a reverse form of this process.
I mean, with the process, we're definitely in chemistry or some sort of scientific process, and reverse osmosis is a thing. So
In 2020, Torrey Hunter said that he refused to play for this MLB team, citing the racism of its fans. After
doesn't
the
narrow it
Astros
down.
were caught stealing signs, this team fired World Series.
I mean, I loves me some Tory Hunter. He's a great guy, great player, one of the best twins of all time. But yeah, I was thinking Boston after, because even that, like, even with, man, Boston fans are just so terrible. Like, even with Bill Russell, who won them like 6 rings, they were still couldn't get over their racism for a black guy. I get it, Tori. I get it.
This dynasty's Qianlong emperor abdicated to avoid ruling longer than his grandfather, the Kangxi emperor. This dynasty was disrupted by the Taiping
I'm
Rebellion,
not great at
the Opium
dynasties
Wars,
either.
and the Boxer Rebellion during the
Oh, I should know it off of the
1800s.
Boxer Rebellion.
For 10 points, name this last imperial dynasty of China.
Oh yeah, what was the last one? I should know this too. The King, yeah, or the Shing. You're knocked around by these Asian history questions.
This material can form sheet intrusions that eventually turn into sills and dike.
This is early. This is early. I don't think this can be it. Hey, it was. I don't know. They make sills because when I think of sills, I usually think of, no, that's moraines. I was thinking of glaciers, but glaciers make moraines, not sills.
This composer included 3 Halling dances in his lyric pieces for piano.
No.
This composer's incidental music for a play by Heinrich Ibsen includes a piece depicting a ruler of the trolls.
Yeah, Wagner wrote for Ibsen, I believe. No, Grieg. Yeah, Grieg. It's a Hall of the Mountain King. Ugh. A little rusty on academic stuff when it comes down to it. I've been mostly playing pop culture stuff.
In a lake of ice at the center of this place, Judas, Brutus, and Cassius are constantly gnawed upon. A gate.
Okay. I was wondering if they wanted a little more. They wanted like the Inferno, Dante's Inferno, but hell's hell. Hell is hell.
The northern part of this country is indented by the Gulf of Tonkin, which was.
It said Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, I buzzed in and you saw it. Buzzed in. It took a second to think there, but the Gulf of Tonkin resolution was part of the run up to the Vietnam War. So buzzed in. I was thinking Korea initially, but that's not. Sometimes you mix together Incheon and Tonkin.
A man who served in this cabinet post under George H.W. Bush held it again late in the Trump administration.
Oh yeah, who came back?
A former Alabama senator who held this position.
Yeah, who's the former Jeff Sessions? So I think they're going to go into all of the different attorneys general that Trump had. But he had Sessions and Burr or Barr, and I think he only had one other.
One of this man's Annus Mirabilis papers from 1905 presented a theory that moving observers experience length contraction and time dilation.
Yeah, time dilation sure sounds like Einstein. Let's see. Einstein won Nobels for relativity. Piezo or the photoelectric effect. His first one was for the photoelectric effect. Then I think he also shared one for something about Brownian motion. So he ended up with 3, I believe.
In 1911, Vincenzo Perugia stole this painting, believing it belonged in Italy. A winding road appears in the rear.
I mean, like at some point, you just say like, okay, these are middle school questions. What else is it going to be when you ask about a famous painting?
Nathaniel Banks besieged a stronghold on this river in the Battle of Port Hudson. John Pemberton surrendered the city of Vicksburg on this river.
So yeah, Battle of Vicksburg happened the day after Gettysburg ended, and so like Gettysburg was the high water mark of the Confederacy, but Grant taking Vicksburg was also a key. It was a key, very key series of days in the Civil War, and I think Vicksburg was about as important to winning the North winning the Civil War as Gettysburg was.
The fundamental theorem of this branch of math is about the prime factorization of integers. Operations in this branch of math are the only ones that a 4-function calculator can perform. For 10 points, what branch of math covers addition?
Is it just arithmetics? Don't give me that. Yeah, just switch the letter. Yeah, it's just arithmetic.
This city owns and operates the Red Rocks Amphitheater in nearby.
Yeah, Red Rocks is right near Denver. I've been to Red Rocks. I went. Had a bachelor party in the Denver area once. Not my bachelor party, a friend's bachelor party, and we ended up going to Red Rocks, but there wasn't a concert on. But they still just have the venue open, so you can just go and like hang out in Red Rocks for a little bit, and it's very picturesque.
This vowel can end a syllable in pinyin only after A, U, W, B, P, M, F, or L. A letter in Danish and Norwegian adds a diagonal line to this.
I don't even know what that first clue was about. Was Pinyin was the language, I guess? I don't think they were talking about English. But I'll admit I kind of spaced out a little bit when they were just listing letters.
During this event, Molly Brown insisted.
They said Molly Brown. she's unsinkable. Yeah, Molly Brown. She was on a lifeboat and saw people in the water. She was a passenger and demanded of the crewmen uh, crewing the lifeboat that they go back and pick people up because they didn't want to. And she was like, "Nah, we're doing this." And so they wrote a musical about her.
These systems are classified on a tuning fork diagram based on their morphology. One of the 2 largest of these systems in the local group is located in the constellation Andromeda and has a spiral shape.
Okay. I never heard of the tuning fork thing, but yeah, I guess without knowing the tuning fork thing, there are. Because talking about morphology doesn't necessarily make it galaxies right there, because there's lots of things that are determined by their morphology. But they said spiral, and there's really only one astronomical object, one kind of astronomical object that's in a spiral.
This country is home to the Very Large Telescope, an astronomical facility in its northern Atacama Desert.
Yeah, the Atacama's in Chile, or is it in Argentina? It is Chile. You don't think it's this weird conception like Chile's so thin. How could there be a desert in it? But I think part of the Atacama is in Argentina as well.
In 2020, this country's finance minister proposed suspending its debt brake. This country, which is Europe's largest exporter and has Europe's largest national economy.
Damn, big European economy. That's Germany. That's Germany, baby.
Within this layer, Wadsleyite transitions to the spinel structure after forming from olivine. This layer's up.
I mean, they're talking about Earth layer. And I think it's either going to be mantle or crust. I'm actually just taking a 50-50 here. I'm going to say mantle. Hey, got there. Yeah, because the crust, there's not many things that form. I think once it gets up to the crust, it's pretty set on what stuff is.
This war began with the seizure of Gascony during a dispute over whether a crown should be held by the House of Valois. During this war, Charles VII was...
Yeah, I figured it was... I mean, Gascony and Valois, it's going to be English and French stuff. So you're going to have English and French war, going to be the 100 Years' War.
This father of Calypso tried but failed to trick Heracles into taking over his job. With his brother Menelaus...
I said father of Calypso. And I was like, Harry Belafonte? It's not. It is a different Calypso. Because we haven't had a pop culture one for a while, but like Harry Belafonte is pretty hard for, and I don't think Harry Belafonte actually has anything to do with Calypso, but I was not. I was thinking about the music genre, but instead it was myth. But yeah, and one of Hercules' labors, he had to. I don't think it was a thing of Atlas's, but he needed Atlas to do something for him. So for a point, it was like, all right, Atlas was like, all right, buddy, I can do that for you. But what you got to do is hold up the earth and heavens for a little bit while I go do that. Are you okay? Are you cool with that? And, the plan of Atlas was to, like, get out of it. But then he got tricked by Hercules. The Greek demigod who is known for not being super smart. Although he was pretty clever. He cleaned out the Aegean stables in a smart way. But in a ranking of the Greek heroes by cleverness, Hercules is probably not in the top half.
Subspecies of this animal are named after Baffin Island and the Mackenzie River. These animals form a unique predator-prey relationship with moose on Isle Royale. Coyotes and domesticated dogs are closely related to, for 10 points.
Man, I was all over the place there. I was thinking about they said Baffin, and I just immediately started thinking about puffins, like you do. But then they talked about predator prey, and I was like, well, puffins probably aren't in that intense of a predator prey group. So then I was just thinking about bears. But yeah, they said animals closely related to dogs, and then they still had a quarter of the question to go.
This composer wrote an opera in which a woman sings that fish are jumpin' and the cotton is...
Gershwin is that's a deep cut for middle school, but I was talking about Porgy and Bess there. It's summertime, fish are jumping, living's easy.
This novel's protagonist pretends to have eaten the sunflower seeds that a boy called Magnet stole from Mr. Sir. The outlaw Kissin' Kate Barlow hides a treasure near Green Lake in this novel.
Green Lake.
Louis Sacker wrote, for 10 points, What Novel? In which Stanley Yelnats digs...
Okay. That's I just know little to nothing about holes. But you talk about a main character digging. I'll get to it there. It was like Green Lake, never not familiar with holes. Holes was a little late. Like by the time it came out, I was not consuming that sort of media.
Pencil and paper ready.
Boo.
Saul needs to find the width of a rectangle whose perimeter is 54 and whose length is 19. Since perimeter equals 2 times the sum of the length and width, he computes for 10 points what width of a rectangle whose perimeter is 54 and whose length is 19.
So that's 38. 8? Hey, math. I did that in my head, and it took way too long. Listen, I haven't had to do computational math in a long time.
This man holds a teapot in a portrait by John Singleton Copley. This man was joined by Samuel Prescott and William Dawes on his most famous endeavor. A poem about this man begins...
Paul Revere. That was just I knew it was Paul Revere after the Copley thing. I just completely forgot. Just didn't have access to the name right away. But I worked on it and got there. It's Paul Revere's ride. He's a silversmith. The most famous silversmith in American history.
A particularly bright example of these objects, named for the NEOWISE space telescope, was discovered in 2020. One of these objects will next be visible in 2061 or 2062 because it has a period of...
It's gotta be comets. I think they're just vaguely talking about Halley's Comet.
This metal is the primary one used to create the color of cranberry glass. A thin foil of this coinage metal was used in the Rutherford experiment that discovered the nucleus.
I think the Rutherford experiment used gold. And they said coin metal, so it's going to be gold or silver or platinum, I guess. But yeah. Can't remember exactly what the Rutherford experiment was. I mean, given that it's Rutherford, it's probably something to try to figure out the atomic model. But I forgot exactly what it was.
A commander besieging this city paid Orban to make a huge cannon and circumvented a chain across the Golden Horn. Scholars fleeing this city brought...
Okay, yeah. I was in the wrong spot. I should have waited on that. I said scholars, so I was thinking it was maybe the Library of Alexandria, but the Library of Alexandria did not exist in the time where there would have been cannons. That's the danger of these questions. Of you go in a little too early, and by a little too early, I mean a lot too early.
Tourists in this city often visit the exquisite Jade Rock, the centerpiece of its Yew Garden. The namesake tower of this city is the second tallest building in the world. This Asian city lies at the southern delta of the Yangtze River. For 10 points, name that most populous city in China.
Is Beijing or Shanghai bigger? I think it's Shanghai. Yeah. I figured we were in Asia again there. I just wasn't sure if we were in China or Japan. And they said tower, and Tokyo Tower is pretty tall, but I don't think the Tokyo Tower is even the tallest. The second tallest structure in Tokyo. I think the Sky Tree is taller. No, Tokyo Tower I think is the second tallest in Tokyo. I think it's Skytree and then Tower.
In the closing credits of this show, the protagonist tries to put his pet baby puss outside, only to be
Baby.
locked out himself.
Oh.
Mr. Slate employs this show's protagonist at the gravel.
Hey, Mr. Slate. Ah, Baby Puss. Oh, I don't remember that. I mean, like, I can picture the scene in my head, but I don't remember a character called Baby Puss in the Flintstones. I wasn't a big consumer of the Flintstones.
In a novel by this man, Charles Halloway uses the power of love to kill the tattooed villain Mr. Dark. Another of this man's books centers on Guy Montag, who
Got Montag's the protagonist of Fahrenheit 451. So that first Mr. Dark is in Something Wicked This Way Comes, I believe.
At Verdun, this monarch ordered the massacre of over 4,000 Saxons. This man was crowned on Christmas Day by Pope Leo III and was succeeded by his son, Louis the Pious.
Yeah.
The eldest.
I think this is Louis 16. Oh, Charlemagne. All right. I'm not good with monarchs in general. I took my shot, and I always forget about Charlemagne. See, that's another thing where I should have just hung out and waited until they talked about him drowning in a river.
An album cover by this singer was falsely claimed to depict him urinating on a flag. That album by this man included the songs Dancing in the Dark.
Is it the Is it the one where he's just like wearing blue jeans and facing away from the camera that people just tried to intuit that he was peeing on an American flag? That's weird. Because he has like the American flag handkerchief in his pocket. Why would he be put? People are weird. But they said Dancing in the Dark.
This set of numbers, by definition, contains all solutions to Diophantine equations. This set is not closed under division, but is closed under subtraction. It contains some negative numbers, but not, for example, 1/2. For 10 points, name this set of real numbers with no fraction.
I never really learned all the sets of numbers that well. I ended up taking Calc 3. That's as far as I got in my math. And it's funny because I had to take Calc 3 in order to get my degree. But I took Calc 3 at the same time I was taking quantum chemistry, which is what you needed Calc 3 to understand. So I was just doing both at the same time.
A character in this novel explains how a harbor was created solely for the Anabaptist Jacques to drown there. In this novel, the Lisbon earthquake does not stop a man from believing all is for the best. Professor Pangloss tutors the title character of, for 10 points, what Voltaire novel?
Yeah, Pangloss is... Oh, what is this? It's not this. This is a play. Candide! Ugh. Yeah, that's one I should have got, but I haven't had to access my knowledge of Candide in a long time. So, couldn't get there. Oh well, we dropped probably too many questions that we should have. I think we dropped 4 or 5. Mostly from just trying to buzz too early, but there were some that we didn't have knowledge on. And then a staunch refusal to do math on the other. That's all right. Sometimes it's nice to just like get questions right and feel good. They set up the division so I'm not playing against middle schoolers. So if anybody is playing this and they're comparing scores, I will be compared against people in my same division. And if you want to come and play Buzzword, you can go to naqt.com/Buzzword. That's it for me. Thanks for watching.